everyone, this channel has become into a blog channel of sorts where I just do covers of random things that I am doing at that point. This was never the intention of the channel, and I will be back into playing Bloodlines after a while, but as I'm mostly retired off YouTube, as I am a very busy person, it means that some weeks I just do like that one thing for myself and it has absolutely nothing to do with gaming, and I still kind of want to go out and share it with the world, despite the fact that my videos on these things will not actually bring me any subscribers or make money or whatever. So this just become into a live diary, and I am very sorry that you're subjected to this. That being said, I hope you're gonna enjoy this video, and thank you for watching. This is not a goodbye, this is literally the start of the video. So before I go into reviewing a couple of magazines, yeah, by the way, I'm into magazines now. I found Hellebore, which is a occult magazine that originates from UK, which is precisely where I live. It is independent, and I actually found some Twitter people in it that I follow, which is quite interesting because I did not see them promote it. They were in a magazine a couple of years ago and then never promoted it, so it took me a very long time to find these things. This is definitely not the only independent occult magazine out there, so there is probably quite a selection. It's just the one that I bought and the one that I am honestly thoroughly enjoying. They release twice a year, and they started in 2019, and I just ended up snatching all of the copies as a treat for myself. Not all of the copies in existence, all of the 6 copies that got released since 2019. If I just like bought 2,000 items of like the same magazine, that would be pretty weird. I don't know how much they have in print. I think it's a print on demand sort of thing. So yeah, that's how my Saturday has been going. I was in a pretty bad health. I really needed a break. I told myself that I'm not gonna do absolutely anything throughout the day, because I was in a pretty bad health and really needed a break, and had a couple of heart episodes that honestly were kind of scary. So I didn't do any gaming, I didn't do anything, but my magazines arrived in the morning, so I spent the whole day today reading and quite enjoying them. And because I was quite enjoying them, I decided that, hey, maybe I should actually share it with YouTube. So first of all, for any people that still haven't run away, hello, if you are into occult, what do my vibes feel like? Just out of interest, because one of my friends managed to place me very accurately in precisely what I feel like and who I work with. So I'm just... It's a bit of a social experiment, take it like that. If you're not into occult, then why are you watching a review of an occult magazine? And if you're into occult but not a practicing witch, then just consider that I'm slightly insane and we'll be cool. First of all, Hellebore issue number 1. It was an issue on the sacrifice. It was the first issue that they ever released, and for the most part, for the most part, the magazine deals directly with the perception of druids in history, with the perception of human sacrifice in history, and how we have very little proof that it actually was happening, yet they categorized the old primitive people as unknowing of the current day's morals and just attributed evil acts to them, despite the fact that you can't prove it. For the most part, it's very consistent as far as the theme goes. There is a single article in there that is on the King of Terrors. It's on a church somewhere in England, and about how they found medieval drawings of all of the things that you would find in the church that were plastered over, and how those drawings got destroyed over time, and how having primitive drawings in a church was looked down upon as a doing of a primitive person sort of thing. It has an overlying theme. It runs through it pretty well. I can give you an excerpt as far as it comes to the human sacrifice sort of thing, because in the middle of it there has been a lot about bodies that were attributed to human sacrifice and how probably not the case. So for example, the ageless dead, discovered in a peat bog near Windeby, northern Germany in 1952, Wenby 1, formerly known as Wenby Girl until in 2006 the body was confirmed to be that of a teenage male, was thought for a long time to have suffered a violent death. Half the head appears to have been ritually shaved and a blindfold covers the eyes. Child's severed limbs surrounded his body beneath the peat. However, the ritual shaving has been found to be nothing more than decomposition of the hair, the blindfold merely a woolen band which was probably used to tie back the boy's long locks. His limbs were severed by the peat cutters themselves, or others who have been over the area previously. A picture of a terrible crime scene transformed over time into a much more peaceful interment. So we have an underlying theme. It's well researched. It's well written. The artwork is honestly quite pretty. I'm gonna just find the random picture. There you go. And it's 63 pages long. It took me about 2 hours to get through. And it includes a page from Hookland Guide, which is somebody that I follow on Twitter, and I was very surprised to find it. Overall, I would rate the first issue 5 out of 5. It's not... It is what the excerpt sounded like. It is very well-researched work from professionals that know what they're talking about. And it's less supernatural, like not a ramblings of a witch. Mine would be a rambling of a witch. Theirs is more professional. And it's very well put together. So once again, if you want to get the first issue, that is in the description down below. I would definitely recommend it. It honestly got me thinking a lot. For some reason, this topic was really gelling well with me, more than some other occult works I've ever had. So I spent... this happens when I study occult. People consider it to be unification with your higher self. You can call it disassociation, or dizzy spell, or something along those lines, but sometimes if a topic hits weirdly close to home, but it feels like not in this life sort of thing, I sort of space out, and I process quite a lot of things. It got me... I think what was hitting close to home with this one, specifically, is just the way that the antiquity was being seen by Victorians, modern people too, but it mostly focuses on 19th century attitudes towards this. The way that they viewed paganism as a rather primitive sort of thing, the way that they viewed druids as almost this evil boogeyman, and right now when we look back at history, we are also like, oh, those primitive people, while in reality, someone like me, I don't particularly like the focus on the cult of science, and I think that a lot of other people are weirdly enough finding their own spirituality in the recent times, probably because the recent times have been very, very shitty, which leads some people to extremism. So I've been running into quite a few of extremist Christians online, but I don't want extremism. I don't want people trying to start religious wars, but I would like people to feel and to be spiritual. It really gives you a different outlook on life. It gives you a different connection, and it gives you experiences that I can't even explain to somebody that never experienced it. And someone that is very, very scientific and factual will just come in and tell me how it's some sort of, I don't know, placebo that my brain is creating or something like that. But honestly, I wanna share those experiences, so in an ideal future, we would be able to take the wisdom that the older person had, that sometimes is seen as silly superstition, not a it is a wisdom. They did know what they were doing, and we would be able to have that side by side with modernity in an ideal world. I feel better being in the time period that I'm in, because I can disclose more things and not be seen as a, honestly, frankly, a crazy person. It was worse before. Currently, we have quite a lot of online witches that I run into all the time, which honestly skews my understanding on how many people there are like that. Because I keep on hitting into the same individuals, I would say that the occult community is still pretty small. But at the same time, you don't necessarily feel completely alone. And there was the whole satanic panic just, what, 30, 40 years ago? That would have been really, really alienating to somebody of a different faith than a regular faith. But it's still not at a point where I can just disclose my experiences in like a normal conversation without thinking that, hey, maybe they will just send me into a mental asylum. You would wish that you could have that spirituality without you being deemed, I don't know, unfit for society, and have that expression and have everything, while at the same time still progressing science. And I believe that we can. And considering how people just about 100 years before saw druids, witches, how they attributed human sacrifice to all of them, I think it just struck all the right chords with me. So it was quite a developmental journey. This had nothing to do with the book. I, for some reason, just decided to ramble. So, you know, sorry about that, everybody. But I just called it a book. It's a magazine, but it is a good magazine. Now, we're gonna move on to the one that I connected with less. And while the choice of their appearance is very pleasing, they mostly had pinks and greens. It does look absolutely beautiful. One of the first things that I'm gonna point out immediately, that's gonna be an objective point, is please do not use pink to write tiny text. If you can see, this is the regular black text, and this is pink sources, where they took things from. So the first thing that already kind of disconnected me from their second issue was the whole pink sources thing. I have really a hard time reading it. Second issue was Hellebore's The Wild Gods issue. And I think that they thought that they were gonna go out of business during the recession, during the pandemic, and I don't blame them. But because of that, this issue has a lot less of a common thread than the previous one. The previous one is definitely better curated. This one is longer. This one is at 70. Nope, wait. Why am I saying 70? It's at 81 pages. There's a full 81 pages, so that's about 17 pages more than the last one. Don't ask me to math, it is an evening. And it is my rest day, and I told myself that I am not gonna use my brain. Because of that, it's as if in the middle, the magazine stops gelling well. It's such a weird issue. I would say that, about maybe 40 pages are dedicated almost solely to Pan. Not the only wild god, mind you. It is very Pan-centric, so much that I have a friend who's worshipping Pan, and I actually thought, hey, I am reading something that was clearly meant for them. I should just ask for their address and pop it in the mail and send it over, honestly. Because it's very Pan-centric. And I don't connect with Pan. So it's not that the information is wrong or anything like that. It's just that I do not connect with Pan. That picture behind me? From this one. And it is the first 2 pages. I found the graphic to be... I hope that the magazine is not gonna be upset that I'm showing the graphics. I mean, I am doing a review. I am disclosing very little of all the contents, so it's not like I am sitting here and reading you a book. I am just telling you of my thoughts of it, trying to disclose as little as possible so that if you think that it's your thing, you would go and you would pay the independent magazine makers because, hey, people gotta eat. That is kind of the main thing. 40 pages solely on Pan, and then we kind of really veer off topic, and it starts just about at Alan Moore's Wild Gods. And at this point, it actually started gelling with me more rather than less. And I am just gonna read you a question that was given to the Alan Moore that really connected with me. Hellebore, I always have a sense that there are those encoded messages, not just of the fundamental dangers of the wild, dangerous animals, losing your way, eating the wrong things, etc., but of an actual malevolence of nature in a lot of wild god folklore and mythology. Maybe malevolence is the wrong word, but it's that strange, almost seductive thing particularly associated with fairy lore. It's entrapment and trickery. Do you think those tropes are fair warnings of the true nature of the wild gods, or are they kind of anti-pagan propaganda? Alan Moore. In my limited experience, I would say that the destructive power of the manifested weird is a real thing, but that is looking at this power through a lens of religious paranoia and propaganda that makes it appear to be malevolent or evil. For example, I believe that fairy experience, whatever actually causes it, to be a real thing. A zone of consciousness that human beings sometimes find themselves in, among the observable effects of which are the exquisite miniaturist quality that is fascinating to the point of debilitating obsession. See Charles Doyle, or of course Richard Dad. I don't believe, however, that Dad's descent into madness and patricide can be as a result of supernatural malice. It's perhaps more likely a poisonous mushroom. It doesn't bear the people it kills any ill will or even know of their existence. What harms them is not the fungus itself, but their own chemical and biological reaction to it. Similarly, when our consciousness brushes against the visionary experience, it is human reaction to the vision that will do the damage rather than the vision itself, whatever its own topological status. In any experience with apparent gods or fairies or demons, there is serious risk of psychological damage Whatever the purposed nature of the deity in question, first and foremost, if you believe yourself to have genuinely encountered one of those above entities, everything that you had previously believed about your reality will be called into serious question. While this can lead to a state of transcendent ecstasy, it can just as often lead to madness and disintegration of the personality. This is not doing of the god, fairy, angel, or demon in question, however, in whatever sense they can be said to exist, but it is a result of ordinary human mind entering a non-ordinary area of consciousness that it was probably not adequately prepared for. But you try telling that to an exorcist. It's really connecting because what he's talking about is almost the initiation into the occult. It is honestly the initiation into magic. Every witch will likely have their own story, and most people are nearly driven mad. Some are. Some end up non-functional and institutionalized, which is kind of why a lot of these experiences are so hush-hush and behind the rocks. You don't want everybody to think that you're crazy. You can still function as a normal human being, but your perception is permanently changed. I was a complete atheist 2 years ago. Complete. At this point, not only do I believe in an afterlife, I believe that I have had multiple lives, and I have reasons to believe this together with my own individual idea of an afterlife, and this all comes with my prayer sessions with a very, very, very specific patron. I think I name drop him in a couple of videos. I don't try to drop him everywhere because bad things come of it. Yeah, some people will suss it out. Anyway, they have ways. A lot of people guessed it right. A lot of people guessed it right. And through this connection with a very specific patron, don't worry, I don't actually hear voices. I don't actually see a physical manifestation, but you feel as if there are thoughts that could not have come from you because it is not the way that you think, and sometimes it is completely contrary to your own opinion, giving you advice. This is not a command to act in a specific way, but actual advice. So once again, it's not like they go, shit on a pillow, and you're like, I must shit on a pillow now because a voice in my head told me so. It's more like you ask for guidance, and they're like, your health is really, really in a bad state. You're gonna kill yourself if you're gonna continue going like this. Could you please take a rest? And through these kind of conversations, I formed my own very personal view of the beyond. And it's not something that you can quote from a book, because it is not in any books. It is, I can't put it in a book without it becoming, without me becoming some sort of weird-ass cult leader, which is definitely not something that I would want. But it touches on that. Alan Moore touches on those very personal elements of belief that I recognized, and it's something that I wish that more people got to experience. And at the same time, the initiation process is brutal for anyone that chooses to be a witch or into the occult, because it does completely shake up the core of your beliefs. So at about halfway through, I started connecting with this number. But the thing is, about halfway through is when, because the pan as a topic does not continue, it starts becoming vaguely related or rather random. So, for example, we had a tiny bit on fairies, like half a page, maybe. And then we had perceptions and ideas of what the wild hunt is. And I marked myself a passage just because I thought it was something that I wanted to mention. Once again, touches of my life. This is talking about some witches did a thing in 1998. The Wild Hunt Challenge has been devised as a kind of guided meditation in which each participant walked a predetermined route through an area of English woodland on the night of the 31st of October. A facing of fears, the fear of walking alone in the woods at night and of who or what might be encountered there, a communing with nature and with the spirits of the deities inhabiting the ancient greenwood of England's real and mythic past, while some of her fellow hunters reported hearing mysterious sounds, seeing lights, and even sensing the presences of black dog and an armored knight on horseback on their journeys. Greenwood's own experience was somewhat more prosaic. In my case, I had to overcome my social conditioning that woods are indeed a dangerous place to be in at night. And I thought that this was a tiny bit of a sad article, or rather a sad statement. I feel like 1998 people might have actually felt safer than they do right now. Because I would not walk in the woods alone. I have a devout believer in my Twitter feed that tries to get me away from witchcraft, but they're a very interesting conversationalist, and they practiced in very wild ways, in the ways that I would... It's out of my comfort zone to practice like that, but they practiced in various ways, let's just say it like that, when they themselves were practicing instead of newborn whatever religion that they're following right now. They keep on trying to convert people into Christianity, but are claiming not to be Christian. They're a confusing individual. They would go out to the woods with their coven at 3 a.m. In comparison, I go outside at daylight and I'm dodging some people. Like, I legitimately have to run sometimes because of how I look. There's like a gang of kids that have chased me before, calling me a witch, very specifically. It was very weird. I had some junkie call me a vampire once. That was also really, really weird because they were getting quite aggressive at just my appearance. Going outside, it's not the woods that are dangerous for me, it's the other people getting there. So I would never, at night, I would never, and I would really, really wish to. The latest I've been out was probably like 10, 11 p.m. and that's before I moved here. I was living in a less populated place, so when people would run into me, they would actually be shocked. Like, there was one jogger at 10 p.m. asking me if I need the police called, because what am I doing outside? And it wasn't like an angry of, you shouldn't be out here, you kid. It was more like, did something happen? Is somebody injured? Why are you here right now in the middle of the night? And it's like, chill bro, I'm taking a walk. What are you doing? Well, I'm taking a jog. Well then, why are you stopping somebody that's taking a walk, you know? But even then, it was 10, 11 p.m. and it was summer, and I remember my husband getting very, very worried. In here, I would never go after dark whatsoever, so just kind of interesting parallel in how much things have changed. Then you have a good research on a potential horned figure in a cave as like a cave drawing, and the whole thing is arguing whether or not it had horns or anything, but it's still somewhat related. And then you get to voodoo drums, and it's discussing zombie movies. And at this point, it is no longer related to the magazine absolutely at all. So it's kind of halfway too consistent, because half of this issue is directly on Pan and nothing else. And halfway not consistent anymore at all when we get to voodoo drums and we get to zombies. It is very interesting. I still like the articles, but it has nothing to do with the original topic. Absolutely. I can't even connect it. What happened here, if you ask me, because there is a note here stating that they do not know if they're gonna go out of business or not, And just the fact that this magazine is 17 pages longer than the previous one, what happened here, I have to consider, is they had extra articles that maybe were meant for a different issue, and then they kind of didn't know whether or not they even will get to make another issue, so they kind of just threw them in. That is my best interpretation. But in comparison to the very well put together first issue that was on topic the whole way through, I have to give this one 4 out of 5. It's still a very, very good read, especially if you're into occult, which I am. A lovely, lovely magazine, honestly, but too consistent and not consistent enough. And that very, very weird choice of pink. Yeah. See pink sources. It's a small shift. Like, this is the full size of it's not a big magazine. It's not a big magazine. So when you write something in bright pink, it actually looks really beautiful for the pictures. Where it's pink and green, it looks absolutely beautiful. But then you get to like words and reading in that color, really, really difficult. Thankfully, it's only sources that have gotten that treatment, but hey, if I want to research any of this, I will actually struggle with my eyesight, which is actually not too bad for short things. It's worse for long things, but still, it's eye strain. I'd rather you wrote it all in black, please. So anyways, if you are still here, links for the magazines down in the description below. I will be back to playing video games tomorrow night, hopefully. But today was supposed to be a day of just complete stillness, just to get my health under control as I have been overworked. Just wanted to share something that I was enjoying in that day of stillness, as I don't have a lot of time to share a lot of things that I enjoy doing, and I do enjoy sharing, and probably oversharing, because it makes me connected. It makes me feel connected to other people. So, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Toodaloo.